Warlocks and waffles. Warlocks and waffles. Pact once broken, forged. Pact once broken, forged. Warlocks and waffles. Warlocks and waffles. Warlocks and waffles. Warlocks and waffles. Warlocks. A pact once broken, forged anew. Warlocks and waffles. Forged anew.
Did you want waffles?
I'm back.
Good morning, everybody.
I can't hear you, yo. I can't hear you. Hold on. I'm almost here. How's it go? All right, I'm ready for the people.
Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? It is a
Hey.
beautiful Friday morning here in the studio where Junie and I both are. How are you, Junie?
I'm okay. I'm good.
For all of you at home, Junie needed a second and ran away, and then minutes later, the show had already started. So here we are.
Yep. Sorry about that.
All good.
I sent you an invite to the thing, by the way.
Oh no.
No, just now. It was just now.
Oh, okay. Your audio got way quieter too.
Oh, what?
That's
did I?
better. Yeah, you just need to,
It's just where I was
you just
talking.
need to talk into your mic.
I need to use my microphone properly.
Oh man, we are so good at things. Yeah, it is Friday. It is. Contrary to popular belief, it is in fact Friday. And that's why we're here, because we do this show on Fridays.
This is true.
My brain
We
has been
also do it
thoroughly
on
thrown
Mondays,
off
but-
by the fact that
Huh?
my brain has been thoroughly thrown off by the fact that we started so weird.
Yeah, that's on me.
All good. Maisie Jippers
We
in
can
the
talk
chat.
about it.
Maisie, I have
Maisie.
missed you so much. Hey, bud.
Hey.
How you
Hey,
doing?
how's it going? Hey. How
Oh,
you
man.
doing?
How you doing?
How you?
Oh man.
It's a weird energy. We're starting
it's
real
a-
weird.
it's a
today.
weird
And
energy.
It's it's my fault. I apologize.
It
I
is
didn't-
your fault. I will let
Well,
you
damn,
take
you
blame
could've-
for that one.
Could have tried to, like. You know.
No. I believe in credit where credit is due and blame where it belongs.
Okay.
No, it is we got deep into tangents for entirely too long as we were getting set up, and it kept pushing back all of the stuff.
I could show people. What started the tangents if you want.
Nah,
If you
it's
want,
fine.
I could. Nah, yeah. Okay.
Nobody other than us will be interested in that information.
Fair enough. All right. Yeah.
We are talking about the Dungeons and Dragons movie today. Honor Among Thieves. It is very good. This is your only warning that there will be spoilers in this episode if you have not seen the movie yet.
I
If
was
you,
actually just gonna put it in the title. We should put it in the
it
title
it
of
is
which stream it
already
is.
in the title. The
Cool.
title of today's episode is Warlocks and Waffles, and in all caps,
Yeah.
spoilers for the D&D movie. Like that
Yep.
is the title of the episode. But I will preface at the top for all of you who are like audio only or anything like that. There will be spoilers if you haven't seen the movie yet, and you don't want spoilers. This is your chance to leave. If you haven't seen the movie yet and you want to listen to us like rant and rave and stuff about it before you see the movie, welcome. We're happy to have you. If you have questions about the movie, we will try and address them as we go. But first things first, just blanket first impression of having seen, like, from when you heard the movie was happening, when you saw the like cast announcement, when you saw the trailer, when you saw the movie, like what take us on a ride of those impressions if you can.
Okay. I remember when I heard about the D&D movie, I was like, okay, it's a thing. It's happening, right? But it was like, oh, everything's getting a movie.
Mhm.
I was not aware of an original D&D movie. Like another.
Oh, you didn't see the original one?
No.
There's
I was
multiple.
Well, I believe there's one that's like infamous. I'm not exactly sure.
There is one that is like it lives in infamy as like the worst. Yeah, there are some very bad movies, and I will say, having watched those in high school, they were bad in a way that was not enjoyable. Like I will watch a lot of bad movies just because they're bad movies and they're fun to watch.
I've done this, yeah.
Like I am one of the people that every year around Christmas watches the Star Wars Christmas special from way back in the day. That is one of the worst things ever. It like no one that was in it acknowledges its existence. George Lucas like swore it off. It aired one time on TV and then has never aired anywhere again. It is so good in the worst way possible. Like there are just random concerts in it. There are like Mark Hamill is wearing like
I know enough from pop culture memes and videos about it. I haven't seen it myself.
Oh man,
I know.
I've so good.
I've sat through movies and enjoyed movies that people like what is it? I use the example. I watched Dragon Ball Evolution in theaters, that one Dragon Ball Z movie with and it was just like, they're really doing it. Look at them go. They're really this is the way they're doing it. I have but so I'm like, all right, I was gonna wait until I heard more because I didn't want to just automatically assume. As soon cast announcements, there wasn't anything I was like, what the hell? You know what I mean? There was nothing like that. First trailer, I for so many things, getting better as I become more of an adult, I usually have to like immediately kind of go, how did everybody else feel about that? You know what I mean? Like,
sure. Yeah.
I'm not crazy, right?
You don't want to be you don't want to be that one guy that was like, I thought it looked good, and then everybody else was like, really? Like
those Nazis though, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like something, yeah. And it was one of those times that I was already like from the get-go, oh, I think this is gonna be amazing. I think this is gonna be amazing. There was just it automatically from the very beginning gave me the vibe of, this feels like a highlight reel. The trailer feels like a highlight reel of somebody telling me about their game. Like it felt like I was like, somebody's telling me about, then there was a dragon, and then we jumped over this bridge, blah blah blah. I had, like many, that first initial thought of, oh, it's gonna cut out at the end to be meta and it's
Sure.
gonna be people playing D&D. They wait. I feel like they waited a while to like really. They waited till just before to really go, hey everybody, it's not that.
Mhm.
It's like they let everybody sit for like a year of just like, ooh, is it? Isn't it? Speculation. And then right
Well,
before they're like, oh,
there
by the
was
way,
speculation that it was going to be like the cast of Critical Role is going to be sitting
yeah,
around a
yeah.
table and is going to like pull out and it's like their game.
I was positive it was gonna be
Um
like Vin Diesel, Joe Manganiello, and
mhm.
like just like a lot of famous nerds. Um, so I was positive all that stuff. But I was like I enjoyed it, and it's like I wasn't looking for beforehand anyway. I wasn't looking like for like this is what's wrong, but I was like I didn't want to be surprised in a way.
Mhm.
So I was just like where's like a bait and switch or something like that. And I think I called it with the bard because I from the very beginning I was just like I don't know if he's a bard and everybody's like
Yeah.
no, he's a bard. Look, he's got the loot. Yeah, and I was like yeah,
But
but
he has no magic throughout the
yeah,
entire
yeah, and the one
movie.
yeah, and I was just like I wonder if it's going to be he has no magic and it's just literally like a bard that
Mhm.
is like he sings and he's just funny, or if it's gonna be like that type of Home Alone style magic where he,
Sure.
says something that causes the guy to get distracted and he gets hurt, and because of his vicious mockery, the guy got hurt.
Mhm.
Um, they didn't even go that route. They literally just made him a dude, and
He's a
the way I
minstrel. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the way I saw something today was him talking about it was they were like they're not being meta, but
Mhm.
because his character is a bard and he's just the planner, he is the one kind of playing the game.
Sure.
He is the regular person that is strategizing, and it's like he's playing D&D. So he's like
Mm.
our insert, I guess. Um, but it was the second movie in my life that I've ever gone to see by myself because I it just worked out that way, and I
Yeah.
was like, I'm gonna miss it if I don't go. I I forgot that I was by myself. I just enjoyed myself.
Mhm.
I had a good time. I had apparently my favorite moment was improvised. I found out today. My favorite moment is the Zenk walking away scene.
Mm.
The where he's just going straight, and apparently they were just like he's gonna go until we say cut. So let's not say cut and see what happens. And apparently there was just a lot of lines uttered during that, and they
Mhm.
used the ones they used. But the rock, they were just like, "What's he gonna do when he gets to that rock?" And he just did that. He just
Yeah.
went over without breaking his stride. So that was just
I
he
would
decided this is what we're gonna do.
Yeah, I would assume that like he heard the other two be like commentating in the background. They're like, "Oh man, he's just walking in a straight line, huh?" And he's just, "What's he gonna do when he gets to that rock?" And he was just
Yeah,
like, I can see the mental process
yeah.
of like,
I think they said
I'm
there was
going
lines that
right
they
over
didn't
it.
use were like, I don't even think there's anything over there. Does he even know where he's going? Like
That's
that,
so
like,
good. It was such a
but like
good scene.
it was really good. But that was my favorite. I left once again a few times in my life where I'm just like, I know how I feel about this.
Hmm.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just I've grown and don't need validation from everybody to know that I can like things. Uh, or maybe this is just good. I don't know. But anyway,
Yeah.
I
When
I enjoyed it, and
it was
mm,
it was a very fun movie.
yes,
Um,
I had fun.
when they first announced that they were doing one, um, I had like a little. I was hopeful, but I also was fairly certain it was going to be bad. Because I have seen the previous two. The cast list went out, and I was like, okay, well, I really like Chris Pine. Like he's good in pretty much everything I've ever seen him in. I've enjoyed him in. Um Hugh Grant is very talented. Like I'm sure he wouldn't have signed on to the movie if it wasn't good. And then like the rest of the cast I was like, okay, like I know all of these people. Like some of them I've seen in other things, but like uh it's not a like a not like a nothing movie of like these are people
Yeah.
that nobody knows about, so like they've got some good names on there.
Yep.
I think the first trailer I saw for it, I was on the fence. There was stuff in there that I was like, okay, I like a lot of this stuff. Like it looks good. I think the scene with the displacer beast in the arena was in the first trailer, and I love a displacer beast. It is one of my favorite monsters, so I was very excited to see it get some like screen time. But it also had the scene with the druid changing into the owl bear, which was controversial. Yeah. As soon as that trailer came out, I was bombarded with messages from everybody who was playing in one of my games playing a druid who was like, "Can I be an owl bear?" There was a whole thing with that. But then it kind of just disappeared from my radar for a little bit. I just wasn't really paying attention to it. I wasn't looking into it. And anytime I would hear about it, I was like, yeah, they're making a movie about something that like means a lot to me, and I'm excited, but I'm like terrified, like, because I don't want them to make it and it be bad. And then the trailer came out that had the Speak with Dead scene in it.
I don't even know if I saw that, to be honest with you.
The moment I saw that trailer, I was sold. Because the trailer is like, for those of you who have seen the movie, and for those of you who haven't, who are here, there is a scene where they are speaking with dead to try and find some information, and the sorcerer is like, I have this totem, it allows me to like cast Speak with Dead. We'll get 5 questions before they will like return to the grave, never to be woken again. And so they like cast it on this guy, and the first one is like, did you die in this battle? And he's like, yes. He's like, asks some other question that I can't remember. He's like, yes. He's like, okay, cool. So we have 3 questions. We have 3 questions left, right? And the body goes, yes. And he's like, no. I like, that wasn't for you. Like only answer when I'm asking you a question, okay? And the body goes, yes. And then the sorcerer is like, why did you put that in the form of a question? And the body goes, I didn't.
At the end, yeah.
The body goes, I didn't, and just falls back into the coffin.
That was the one where it was the douchiest. I think.
Yeah,
like, that was the one that was messed up because the other one was
so
like,
good.
Oh, he added a yes.
It's so good.
Yeah.
But like every interaction I've ever had with a player using like a spell like that or anything like that ends up like feeling like that, of like, oh man. But then in the actual, I was kind of frustrated that like, okay, I'm sold. Clearly they know their source material. But I was frustrated that they would show that like that whole scene in the trailer. I was like, oh man, like that's such a good scene. I almost would have preferred to have
I know what you
not
mean,
had it spoiled. But then in the movie, they cast that spell on like 5 different bodies, and every single one is so good. Because like the one guy they're like. Yeah, the one guy they're like, what? What did they say?
In a tub.
The one guy just died completely unrelated. The other guy, they dig him up. They cast the spell. They're like, where's the thing? And he's like, oh, I have no idea. And they're like, this other guy told us you had it. And he's like, oh no, that's not me. That's my brother. I'm this guy. And they're like,
it was like Sven and Ben. Like, it was like they had just slightly different names.
Just slightly. And he's like, and he goes to leave, and he's like, you still have more questions. It's like,
I didn't check the list of magic items that the game, like they released on D&D Beyond, like characters and magic items in relation to the movie. I didn't check to see if that token was on there or not.
Ooh, good question.
But like, I mean, they used it a lot, and I was just like, yo, how many, like, we can only that's all we got for today. You know what I mean? I was positive that it was just gonna be, this is it. But they got to use it. They didn't take it from us, and it ran on for, I think, just a good amount of time. They didn't.
It is not in there.
Okay.
The items that are in that list are the Helm of Disjunction, the Hither Thither Staff, the Horn of Beckoning Death, the Red Wizard Blade, and the Tablet of Reawakening. Which
Okay.
all very good magic items that all felt in
Yeah.
universe.
Oh
Like
yeah.
they all felt like something that I'd be like, oh yeah, that is like, to the point where a couple of them I was like, oh yeah, sure. I feel like I've seen that item before. And it's just a different item, but like they very much nailed the like WotC magic items.
What I'm looking at it, I'm looking at them again, and the one I'm like, I don't know if I would have done it this way, is the Red Wizard Blade.
Mm-hmm.
Because they made it like a legend, they made it legendary, right?
Sure.
And whenever something's legendary, I think of like either there's one or only, like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, only the knights that are only 7. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it could be that this wizard was it what they were that powerful, they had this one thing. But there was a line that says like, "Oh, you can't bring somebody back that was killed by a red wizard's blade."
Mm-hmm.
Implied like all these red wizards got these blades. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like they all got them. So I would have rare or very rare. I think legendary. Just saying legendary would have been
I think
like just a
most
scooch too
most
high.
likely the reason it was added as a legendary is so that like it isn't an item that people will just have in D&D games when it was like
I gotcha.
added. Like nobody is going to like, I've played in a game where somebody was like, you get like these different levels of magic items. You can have like a couple of common, you can have a like an uncommon, you can have a rare, like all of those. So like if it was a rare or a very rare item, there's the potential that you have a game where somebody just shows up and they're like, yeah, I have a red wizard's
Yeah,
dagger.
yeah, you're right.
And
You're
it's
right.
like, what, why, how?
That's a good. Yeah, like and legendary could also be like it was passed down. It doesn't have to
Hmm.
be like that hard for you. Like there might be a way to get it that's easier, but it
Sure.
does take it out of the whole just being able to buy it in a shop or just make it type of thing. So
I
I agree with that.
I also interpret legendary as like anything that is a legendary or a like artifact level item.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
also interpret as like, this is not something that you could go to an enchanter and have made. This is an item
Mhm.
that like is something from myth and legend that has been like handed down
There's
through
stories about this
generations.
one thing.
Yeah.
There's stories about this thing. Yeah. No,
So like
I
if
like
I'm
that.
going up
Yeah.
against the Red Wizards, something that I have to fear is that they have the Red Wizards blades that are like these terrifying boogeyman weapons that like the Red Wizards hold.
I I I want to keep talking about magic, but magic items real fast.
Hmm.
I think we went back and forth on this, but the more I think about it, the more I would really like to do it if I had an item that it was appropriate for.
Hmm.
I would the way they handled attunement was
I'd like it a lot.
it was interesting,
Yeah.
and I can see some people going back and forth with having an item that it like there are magic items that are like sentient. And sometimes you have
Hmm.
to like roll like a charisma check or persuasion check or something
Right.
like that. And I think this is a way where you can get the difficulty of that type of item where it's,
Yeah.
it's not as easy as boom, you got it without giving it a whole personality, making it a whole NPC,
Yeah.
this other kind of thing. Um, and the way that I think they handle and the way we would like turn it into a game mechanic, it would
Hmm.
be like if there was a DC and just for every hour or every day the DC goes down because you're getting better at it. I
Mm.
I did something in a game yesterday where um the two ways I think a DM can handle something is to make the DC harder if they're trying to keep repeat doing it. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I try to pick the lock, I pick the lock again. So it's either the DC gets harder or it's going to be in my opinion the consequences of failure get bigger or
Mm.
it gets more epic. So in my case, it was somebody was trying to open a door. They were going to use their sword, couldn't do it, and then they were going to like jump kick the sword to leverage it out. In my brain, I was like, you're going to either break your sword and wedge the door and never open it, or it's going to look cool, but there'll be a loud noise because you kept, doing this thing.
Right.
Afterwards, the one of the players was like, oh, the DC must have skyrocketed. And I was like, no, the consequences skyrocketed at that point. Um, and it's just this sense of like the number doesn't always have to change, but like the results, like your effort can pay off in some way, shape, or
Mm-hmm.
form. So I think having an item where you can't just attune to it because it is just that hard and make the DC something really high, like 20 or something, like that's not easy unless it's a natural 20. They have to work on it. And if they get that big roll, they get it. It's going to be, haha, I did it. But every time you do it, it's just, you got to wait. You got to hold off and it's going to take longer. And it's just, and it's just, it punches you. But the reward is great when you do get it.
Right.
So adding that difficulty that slides is interesting. And I would like to try something like that with something.
I like the concept of like magic items that are almost just protected, of like you this is not an item that people want to be able to just, like, anyone could pick it up and use it. So having almost in like some sort of protection over it to prevent people from being able to utilize it, where like the average person is going to put on that helmet and not be able to access it. The majority of them probably wouldn't even get into the attunement stage.
Well, yeah, I was about to say, do you think that item was even protected? I don't even know if that item was protected at all, because the end, we see that it was him. The whole thing with him being wild magic, it's kind of, he's getting in his own way.
Mhm.
So do you think the attunement process was difficult just because of him, or do you think the item had some sort of protection on it that, oh, if people can, get past themselves, they can do it? Or do you think that's just, for him, attunement is hard?
I think it's a combination of the two. I think that it's a like the attunement process is more difficult for that item because it is a powerful item, but also he doesn't believe that he can attune to it, and doesn't believe that he's worthy of attuning to the item. So why would the item allow him to attune to it?
'Cause that
And then
just
I
hit me
think
the
it
whole time
I think it
yeah.
presents itself as like a familiar form for him to work against. But yeah, that would be my interpretation of it.
Yeah, the whole time I'm thinking of protected, and then it just hit me like, wait, was it just him? And he's like, he struggles with all kinds of spells, and I was like, was he just struggling with attunement? Like,
Mhm.
like I didn't even think about like, oh, what if it's just somebody that was good with magic, just took the time, and it's like, yeah, it's a process. You got to just take it slow, and then you get it, and then so I didn't even think about, oh, what if it's just him? But I still want to do the protected magic item without, you know without it being like, oh, they're nervous. They're all that.
Right.
How did you feel about the magic? Did you also know every spell that was thrown out?
Yeah, there was like maybe one or two where it would like pop up and I'd be like, what are they casting? But for the most part, I was like, oh yeah, I know that. I can identify all of these because like I spend entirely too much time looking at those spells. So being able to sort of pick all of those out was very fun for me. Like the guy walking up and like his flame or his blade just ignites in green flame, and I was like, I know what that is.
Yeah.
And then they're throwing around their like the big beast hand and the Maximilian earthen grasp, like fighting it out and stuff.
Oh, but they
Was
made it
super
like they're
cool.
both the same though. Like I
Did
didn't
they?
like on the spell sheet that
Ah,
they're both using Big B's hand. Like they both have Big B's hand.
mm.
But so it's like it does
Either
kind of
way,
reinforce the
it
whole, your spell can look like this,
yeah.
but
I
yeah.
love casters having unique looking magic. So having those like both be the same spell but they look completely different and are flavored completely different is still very fun for me.
Um there were fun, I would say fun interpretations of all the classes. Did you have like, who was your favorite class? Like, who's your favorite depiction of a class? Like, it doesn't have to be the main hero party. Like, did you have, like, because it could be the bad guys too. But did you have like a, I loved so and so because of blank?
Specifically for a class,
Yeah, class wise, yeah.
I thought
Because of an interesting take, or like that's your favorite.
the like I thought Hugh Grant's portrayal of like what I would interpret as like a mastermind rogue, of like he's there to like see the big picture. He's there to like pull everybody, and like he's doing everything for himself and all of that without being just a traditional like hide in the shadows and stab in the back sort of rogue. Like he's a very ostentatious rogue, which I always like. I also like so there the thing with Chris Pine's Bard that stood out to me is that it kind of feels like an old school Bard. So like the original way that Bard worked in the like old editions is that you had to take levels in fighter, rogue, and magic user in order to then take levels in Bard. So you needed all of those levels first. And so he feels like he's got that fighter background. He's got a little bit of a roguiness to him. The only thing that he's missing is the magic. That he just hasn't really like studied or looked into that. So to me, it makes sense that like he's still a bard. He's just like not magic. So he's not doing like all of the spell stuff, but like Rosie raised a good point in the chat of like there are definitely moments that are like that's bardic inspiration. Like he's using bardic inspiration. There's just no like magic from him, like quote unquote he's casting a spell type of thing. But we also see like he uses the totem of undying. He knows how to activate that. Like he clearly has the knowledge. He's just not casting anything.
Yeah.
So
what kind of bard do you think? Do you think he'd be a lore bard, or what do you think he would be if we were to pick that college?
I would probably go valor or swords.
Interesting.
Because he is more of a fightery bard. It could also be like, oh, what's the other one? Is it whispers? That is the more roguey.
But then I was like, I was gonna say whispers, but then I realized like because they really just lean into the charisma of it, it just turned into eloquence.
Yeah, eloquence is also a good he has a lot of elements from different schools, it feels like.
Yeah.
And to me that fits as like he's not really a like he hasn't pinned down where his focus is. Like none of them really felt like, yes, this is a school of this, or this is their circle or anything like that. Like they all kind of felt like portrayals of the class without delving into the specific subclass. Yeah. I also think it's interesting that like they can't seem to decide if Michelle Rodriguez's character is a barbarian or not. They keep like going back and forth on if she is or not, but like the character, she has like some very
they labeled her as a barbarian on the
poster. Did on there, but then pretty much everywhere else they've been like she's not a barbarian. She's been like, yeah, I'm a barbarian. It's like they can't seem to decide one way or another. But like she's clearly a barbarian.
It's like I think like her two big scenes were one she was in an alleyway and one where she was in like the forge. Those scenes were the scenes that made me go, whoever choreographed this played D&D. And the reason I say that is because I as a nerd saw the tavern brawler feat like in textbook like form. She would hit somebody with something she just grabbed, and then she would grab people. And it's after using an improvised weapon, you can do a grapple. And she was hitting somebody with a cup and then grabbing somebody around the neck and then using this. And it was like, yeah, that's fight scene stuff. But I was like, that's a feat in D&D. You can do that kind of thing.
I do not have evidence of this. I would have to go back and watch the movie again, but I saw somebody on Twitter say that during that fight, every 6 seconds in that fight, it flips back to Chris Pine trying to like get his hands untied. and then goes
So
back to
perfect.
Michelle Rodriguez. And I think that is so funny that they are essentially being like, yeah, because like barbarians have multiple attacks. They've got their like, she's using the bonus action grapple, so she's doing like
That's really good.
all of that stuff, and then like it flashes back to Chris Pine, who's like using his action to try and free himself, and like there's got to be sharper bricks around here.
And he's hyping her up. He's
Yeah,
inspiring.
he's
her,
using his
He's just
bardic
like,
inspiration, but he's
Yeah,
having to
it's like, "You got
spend his
this,
action to
yeah."
try and get
But,
free.
he did one of my favorite things that I like to do for that cocky thing. It's just like, we're totally doing it.
Right.
My favorite thing for a character that's totally not holding their own weight is just to literally go, we're doing it, all of us,
All of us
equally,
together.
equally as one, contributing the same amount.
The real victory was the friends we made along the way.
Yes. I just noticed something else that, like, looking at the stat blocks, and talking about like the way that they do the characters.
Mhm.
I love that the sorcerer had like he had a component pouch essentially,
Mhm.
where he would like swipe it to get the things he needed
Mhm.
for whatever. But the the druid didn't really do any other spells.
No. Her thing was kind of just the wild shape.
Wild shape.
But she
She
wild
was kind of like
shaped
a Robin Hoodie.
lot.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. She wild shaped
Yeah.
a lot during that chase scene, but it was kind of like a Robin Hood situation of like, uh, jump in, shoot a very great use of a sling,
Mhm.
and
I love it
because it
on
was
you.
also
I
like a
love
Batman type
yeah.
of
I love a little weird weapon getting some love. Like
yeah.
nobody takes the sling.
Yeah, I really like that. And it was, they weren't nobody felt useless. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everybody felt like they did something. It was a great use of like, all right, everybody's using their thing. Good use of like flashback or like cutting back and forth during that carriage scene with the painting. It was a lot of good moments during all that. I will also say that the wizard, I feel like some people
Mhm.
would like the time stop situation.
Yeah.
Um, whether or not it was he got it in time, or like, were they all faking it? Because like I think, if I remember correctly, feel like the way the when the spell triggered, like they were all stopping.
Mhm.
I feel like it also stopped like things from falling. Like it really stopped, like, like you saw like debris freezing, if I remember
Mm.
correctly. I mean, it was like time stop where like coins would be flying in like the first time he used it, right?
Yeah.
Um, so it's one thing if time stop was
I'd have to go
happening.
back and rewatch that. Yeah.
So I remember the first one, time stop. Oh, things were like coins were flying, and
Things
when
were
you threw
stuck in the air the first
stuck
time.
in
They were
time,
more
right?
in the like courtyard area. So
Yeah.
I don't specifically remember stuff being stuck in the air like there was the first time.
I don't know. I know that the wave was spreading, and they were like using time stop, and he was going to try to counter it.
Right. The
And
thing that
then
stuck
it
with
was
me on that one is that like there is a shot of him like with the spell
Yes.
stuck in the air,
yes.
and then they're like, no, it did work. And it's like, okay.
But
Did
it
it
really
though?
well, that's the thing. It's this fun thing that we never think about because everything is instantaneous in
Mhm.
D&D for us. It is blank. So the idea of it would be impossible to really try to do this in person, unless you as a DM was just like, oh, they're using time stop.
Mhm.
And then it's like a metagaming. It's like, okay, well, we counterspell it. Could we all just freeze and roll deception checks to make them think that time is frozen?
Mhm.
Like that's how that would roll if it was a party.
Right.
But what it would kind of be if we were running it, it would be everybody roll a save. You failed. All right, you blink and he's gone. Like, you know what I mean? Like it would just be they're gonna do whatever they're gonna do in
Mhm.
in during the time stop. And we wouldn't tell them that time is stopping, you know? But in that instance, it was cool. Like they realized it was happening. They they stopped it and then tricked the wizard. So for the wizard,
Mhm.
we always, not always, not for everybody, most of the time, a spellcaster the way I feel it's portrayed is they know if their spell works or not.
Mm.
And so to just go, this wizard thought their spell worked and it didn't, I thought that was kind of interesting. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I could see the to me the way I interpret this is the I count like this is something that they have done before. Of like time stop, sorcerer tried to counterspell, couldn't.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
runs
Yeah.
away. Like they've done this before.
Yeah.
So when she sees all of this happening again, she just sort of assumes that it, like, she nothing in her says, yes, there's a potential I will be defeated here.
Yeah.
Because she's
Oh, yeah.
already won. The way I would interpret this then is that, like, if a wizard threw a spell and the spell is thrown, but it is counterspelled, but like the effects of the spell still happen, that like that is the cue that the wizard is looking for, that their spell worked. It's not necessarily that the the spell fizzles out in their hand and doesn't happen. It's that like the spell happens and then the effects are dissipated. Is kind of the way that I read it with the movie. It could also be because I definitely interpret his sorcerer as being a much lower level character than her wizard, right? So it could also be a case of like, they are casting this spell that is a higher level than what the sorcerer has access to, and so he is counterspelling, but it's not that like instant counterspell of like, I am matching the level of your spell, and so it just fizzles out in your hand.
Fizzle, he has
It's
to roll for
it's the one where he's like having to roll for it, and so it like, as it is like, it is cast, but then he is like controlling it and pulling it away.
That's interesting.
And like, I like that interpretation of like, if you are trying to counterspell something that isn't instantly dissipated, that the spell does happen, and then you are trying to like prevent it from taking effect. I like that just from a like visual perspective.
I love that. I'm like really rereading it, and it's interesting because the way I always did it was like, oh, it's charging or whatever, but then it's like, it boom, it just doesn't happen, right? But the way it says is the counterspell reads as the spell fails and has no effect. That doesn't mean it doesn't happen. So the way you're saying of like, it's spreading, it's going, but it's like,
right, like a fireball is thrown, and you counterspell it, and it just sort of like harmlessly washes over the person that it hits instead of igniting
it's
them.
always like a little mote of energy, and then it explodes, but then it's like the mote just never, and then it just goes away.
I played in a game once where the GM, their approach to counterspell was essentially, every school of magic, like color theory, there's like a wheel of colors, and so like the ones that are on opposite sides are like the opposite colors. So every school of magic had an opposite. And so if a spell is from like one school of magic, counterspell is actually infusing the opposite end of that spectrum into that spell to like dissipate it, essentially. That was his interpretation of counterspell, which I always thought was very cool. So like having a like essentially changing the school that you are throwing from one into another to dissipate it. Of like, if I'm throwing a fireball, instead of it being evocation magic, I'm going to infuse it with illusion. So it is this massive ball of fire, but it just washes over you, instead of like actually causing any damage. Or having I don't remember what the opposites were for his wheel, but like time stop, I assume would be, If only I had access to all the information in the world.
I know, right?
Time stop 5e. What school is this? I don't think I've ever. Yeah, because time stop is a 9th level spell. So this is a transmutation magic. So in my mind, opposite of transmutation, opposite of like changing one thing into another would be like conjuration, I guess. I don't know. Something along those lines. But either way, you're like instead of pulling the actual time stop, you're like creating this sort of inert energy fields there, where the
enchantment
could work. Yeah, enchantment and transmutation seem like next to each other, though.
No, you're right.
We're also talking about like magic theory in a way that is not actually canon to anything. I would love to do an episode and talk about like magic theory and just like flesh out an idea of that. I can hit up my friend and see if he has his old notes on that thing. But
I always want to flesh out rules and just talk about collaborative storytelling, not storytelling, collaborative spellcasting. Because if ever there is a spell or a class or a situation where, because nobody ever wants to double up on anything, you know what I mean? Like, why would you want to do that? But I would almost like champion, like, well, what if you both had this one thing? What if doing it together either makes it better? So maybe cure wounds, both of you cast cure wounds instead of like you expend one spell slot, but maybe it does it at a second level or something like that. You know what I mean? Or maybe it'll take less resources from you because somebody else is carrying half the weight. So maybe you use half the spell slots. If you both cast a 4th level spell, but you both use a 2, you know, that kind of thing. Like, so I always think of like a witch's coven, you know what I mean? Like, you know, it's like you're both chanting, or like in this one, the wizards, you know, there was a group of wizards. They were collectively all working together for something.
We're gonna do an episode where we discuss magic theory and build out a whole like tag team casting system. We can hit up Elliot. He's very or Gabe. Either of them would be very into a mechanics and building out a new system thing. Because we did something kind of like that on Hooligans, of like if they wanted to like both use their magic to sort of like accomplish a common goal, they could. But I like the concept of like building out this magic theory system. We'll talk about it some other time. That is not the point of this episode.
No, let's talk about this. Well, before we go into like maybe some of the other story beats, while we still got characters, if you had to change a character, is there anything you would do to change a character?
Oh, I think
I know what I would do. Like there's just one
if you have something, go for it, because I would have to think on it for a second.
I would have given I know why they didn't. At least I'm guessing why they didn't. I would have given the bard a little bit of magic, even if it's like they make us question, like, is it coming from the loot? Is it coming from him? Even if it's like the running gag is like, is it you or is the loot kind of thing? Like I've seen it in like you know, Critical Role or something like that. Like their hands are tied. It's like, oh, if I had my loot, I can do something. And it's like, oh, is it you or is it the loot? So the whole moment where
I did kind of like the fact that he was like kind of ambiguously a bard, though.
That's why the whole time I'm like, he's just a rogue, right?
I think he's a rogue.
He's a music playing rogue.
He's a swashbuckler. He's a swashbuckler rogue.
That's what I took it as. The whole time I was like, like that was my first theory. Like when the trailer first came out, I was like, I think the bard thing is a red herring. I think he's a swashbuckler rogue. But if he was gonna have magic, I think that because it was farther enough in the movie where it would have been a fun payoff. If the whole movie he does not have magic, it's like whatever, and then the scene where it's like him, it's the minor illusion where it's like him singing and dancing, and then it's glitching because of Simon. The Simon is like the spell is going wrong. I think that would have been a fun moment to go. He's like really trying to play, and he's like, and it's kind of like he's astral projecting himself. Like the illusion is just he's projecting himself over there, and they're like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "This is why I don't do magic." You know what I mean? It's just like he's not great at it, so he
Yeah.
focuses on his strengths. But it's like this whole time you could have done magic, and it's like that's probably why he cares. Like he's so sympathetic to Simon, right? Simon was the sorcerer, right?
Yeah.
Where it's just because Simon messes up magic, but it's like, bro, at least you can do big magic. All I can do is this, and he like makes a little stick figure dancing. You know what I mean? It's like he can only do the tiniest of little things. He focuses on his charisma. But a little reveal of like technically he could. You know what I mean? That would have been a fun little something or other. Everybody else, I was just like a druid that doesn't do magic and just focuses on wild shape. Not crazy. Barbarian that hits things.
I would honestly, I would play a druid in a heartbeat if there was a druid subclass that was exclusively focused on wild shape. Like I don't need
the moon is that. The moon
no, because I'm talking things, I'm talking like I don't even need spells. Like don't give me spells. Give me only like shape change into like beast abilities, and let me be like a like the Highlander bear folk of like they're like the berserkers that turned into like bears in battle, of like let me be a fighter who can also transform into animals. Like that's I would play that in a heartbeat. That would be my new main class. If I could be like a barbarian who could also like wild shape, oh my goodness, that would be all I would ever play.
That is a thing where I've heard like, or it's like if you take barbarian, path of the totem warrior, and pick bear, right, and then you go into a rage. Rage isn't concentration, and
correct.
then if you level up in druid,
and you can't cast spells in rage, but you can use any class abilities.
Exactly,
which wild shape is a class ability.
Yeah, and it doesn't say it would go away. So imagine you just being a real tanky ass literal bear that takes half damage from everything.
That might be my next character.
That's what I mean. I was like, you're describing something that's possible. I understand that like it would be nice to have that.
Yeah, it'd be nice to not have to. It would be nice to not have to like multi-class in order to accomplish it.
I feel like they did a little bit of that with the like with the Circle of Stars. They were using the wild shapes in a way to empower other things. Like like they would give you a free spell slot, or make you better at XYZ things.
But that's the opposite direction. I know what you mean. I want to use my spell slots to wild shape.
Yeah. If you use your spell slots to wild shape, that would be interesting. And then like, what if
like give me a Circle of the Moon druid where I can burn spell slots to turn into a creature of a CR equal to the spell slot I burn.
That's what I was about to say. I was about to say it's like, what if your feature like regular is just you can, transform into a creature that's whatever CR that's appropriate, but if you burn a spell slot, there's like a scale where it's kind of like you can go up a quarter or go up a half or something like that. You're using a resource, and then well, are druids at a certain level? I was gonna say, are druids magic? Are druids animal attacks magical? And I think they are at a certain level.
I don't
think
believe so. Yeah,
always,
I think
it's like key
actually strikes. It might be at high levels, or I think Circle of the Moon gets it earlier, because Circle of the Moon is all about like
they're empowering the wild shape.
But yeah, I want to circle back to a couple of things that have been in chat here. On the topic of like, what would you have changed about the characters? Rosie said that they would love to have seen the tiefling be more tiefling-y, which I think that to a larger extent was my main problem with this movie, is in a world of so many fantasy races. The like party is comprised of essentially 4 humans, a half elf, and a tiefling who looks mostly human. Like that's a lot of humaniness. Like it would have been very cool to get like, I liked the half elf a lot. I liked the tiefling. I wish they would have done more with the tiefling. I also wish it wasn't like a red-haired tiefling with like essentially little like antler horns, because like it just feels like Keyleth, and it's like, why are you so close to what already exists and is very well known? The I Yeah, seeing the practical effects on the Dragonborn and the Aarakocra was awesome. I understand why there wasn't like a Dragonborn, an Aarakocra, a Tabaxi, anything like that in the party, because
Yeah.
like that would be substantially more work. But I would have loved to have seen like put a gnome in there, like you already had
Well,
a
we saw a
ambiguous
gnome.
small person.
Yeah.
Like it would have been nice to have like one in the party. Like it would have been so good.
I think
I
this
will say
was-
the orc
yeah.
in like the first scene was so good. Like the
There was a Yanti too. You
there
saw
was
the
a Yanti
in a
as
cell.
well.
Yeah.
But like
Mhm.
the orcs prosthetics were so good. Like I would have loved an orc in the group.
I didn't even think about it as an orc. I was like, is that a hobgoblin? Like I thought it was
Oh, it could have been a hobgoblin as well. I interpreted it as orc. Like
I
half
wasn't
orc.
sure about the orc. Yeah, I thought hobgoblin because it really seemed like that hobgoblin general where it was like the blunt nose, and he was just like, he was. I don't know if what the art is red in for the character art for that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not sure.
I just
think
have
it was
I just have the
because
race list opened in front of me. I'm like, what would I have wanted to see? Like I would
I
have
think they did it to there were already going to be people that saw the D&D movie and were
Mhm.
like, "Oh, I don't know anything about D&D," or "Oh, I don't know what the hell that thing is. Oh,
Mhm.
I don't know this." So, I think there was this for this first entry, I think they were definitely trying to decrease that barrier of entry
Right.
where it's kind of like big names, but also like you don't need to know what the heck this person is. Like, does
Right.
that person have horns? Does that person have ears? Like, you know what I mean? It's enough where it's just like people and then like self inserts. You know what I mean? You can be
For
the nervous one. You could be the
for
serious one.
me for me if you're going to have like I understand if you want to stick to just the like player's handbook basic rules races, right? Like that still leaves you with like everyone knows what a dwarf is, everybody knows what an elf is, like everybody is familiar with the existence of the Lord of the Rings. Like putting one of those into the party would not have been difficult. Like putting one of the halflings or the gnomes or something. Like I understand the reasoning behind not doing it, of like we want to make sure that like it's easy to film all of those scenes. So like the tiefling doesn't even really have a tail visible for most of it. Has
Yeah,
a tail, it's just
kinda there,
only
yeah.
comes up when it's necessary. It's kind of like familiars of like you only have to acknowledge it if you need it for a scene. The like so I understand why they were like, we're only going to use these for when they're like needed for a shot. It makes it substantially easier to film all of that stuff. But I would love to see more.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
More representation of those additional like cool characters. Like I'm certain that they wouldn't, but like I would love to see like a Furbolg or like a Goliath or like, oh, let's see.
If I had to think of looking at the list of like what is easier, not problematic,
Mhm.
as far as easy to we do think it was a good movie as far as well, I mean, I think it's a good movie. I'm not going to speak for Hunter here.
I do think it's a good movie.
But like looking at the things where it was just like, okay, um, they don't want. I think they were avoiding like we don't want to be exactly like XYZ because
Mhm.
technically you can't say Hobbit. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's halflings.
It's a halfling.
Then it's like, all right, it's a gnome. I think that was a gnome. I don't think it was a halfling. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Goliath would have been a little easier because then it's just like, is she like if they made Olga like a Goliath and it was just she was
I
just
liked
bigger.
Olga as a human though. Like
I did too. I did too.
My thing is like I
But,
liked
that's the only other
Olga
thing I could've
and
think of if they did that.
Olga and Edgin. I thought were both like solid choices as humans. Like those both make a lot of sense to be humans. But like if you're gonna do that, like Hugh Grant's character could very easily have been an elf. The paladin could have very easily have been
Well, I think he was reborn. I think he was
yeah.
he was
I
something.
I
He
I
wasn't
would have played I would have
human-y, but
played
I
him
know
as
what
an
you mean.
I would have played him as an Asimar. Like throw like even if it's just a little hint here and there of like he looks like a person. But like give him like gold irises like what's his name? Heimdall from Thor. Give him the gold irises, give him like in one of the fight scenes just have like a burst of what looks like spectral wings come off of him for a second. Like
Yeah,
just
yeah,
those
yeah.
little hints would have been awesome.
I think that the easiest one that if they wanted to play around with and they could have an easy 4 shot of people is if they wanted to go with Genasi. They can have
Genasi could have been
humany
very
ones
cool.
and
Yeah.
Genasi ones where it's like humany and then just a little CG like hue
You could even
shifter
you
where
could even do it
they
with
don't have.
prosthetics and just have
That's what I
like
mean. Yeah, yeah. But you don't have
little
to like
like
you
patches.
wouldn't
Yeah.
have to like I don't think you would have to Guardians of the Galaxy like full blown paint them green. You know what I mean? So it wouldn't have to be a full blown red, a full blown blue, like you know what I mean, for the earth and fire, wind.
Mm-hmm.
But like you can change color and then like in post you can kind of like CG their hair to kind of have a little bit of
Mm-hmm.
a glow to it if they're fire, you know what I mean? Or it always looks like the wind is blowing in their hair just a smidge, you know?
Yeah, like how
Um
Galadriel in Rings of Power, they put like gold thread into her hair so that it would just like catch the light and shimmer as she moved.
oh wow.
And it's like it's such a very little detail that I would love to see. There's no point in like going over that though. The movie's been made. The movie is great.
Yeah.
Like at its core, the movie was so good. Like even if you do not play D&D, even if you have never had any experience with D&D, this is a very very fun fantasy movie. And I know there are people that didn't enjoy the movie. There are people that had problems with the movie, and I think there are like genuine reasons for that were raised. There were a lot of people that were unhappy that it pays a lot of tribute to like WotC and WotC's like D&D, but it doesn't really bring up any of the people that put effort into building it, like the like Ed Greenwood and like these people that built the Forgotten Realms. There's really no references to them in there. It'd be nice to like see some acknowledgement of that. I understand that frustration, but I think that as a movie and as a representation of D&D, I think they did an incredible job. Like I understand the frustration of like, well, I would have liked to have seen this, I would have liked to have seen that, because I also had things that I would have liked to have seen in the movie. But I think the fact that the movie was as good as it was, because it is a great movie, and like I love practical effects. I love the Dragonborn and like the Aarakocra Jarnathan. Oh my goodness. Like I love him so much. Like him just like walking in and being like, it's a horrible storm out there, and then just getting like Jarnathan, like, oh my god, that whole scene was incredible.
But shouting, "We were gonna pardon you," like that they were gonna be fine.
It's such a like such a D&D there's so many moments where I was like, I have seen this exact thing of like the party is in trouble. The party has concocted some elaborate escape attempt. They like plead their case as a distraction. But in pleading their case, the people are like, oh yeah, this absolutely makes sense. Like we are on your side here. And then before they can tell them that, they execute the plan to now, like by the time they get to where did they go? Neverwinter. They by the time they get there, there's already wanted posters of them, and it's like you could have left. it's like those little moments. My dad was RGM when we were like learning to play. And my dad has a phrase that he was notorious for telling every new player that would show up to the game to learn how to play, which is the quickest way to die is by being stupid. And like it is so true. Like there are so many moments where the party is doing something and you're like, this is gonna go real bad. This is gonna go south real quick. But like that's part of the game, and it's one of the things that that makes it so great.
There was also those moments where you're like, everybody has a D&D moment where they're like, I think this will work, or you do it and you're like, I can't believe that worked. And it's that moment where you tell people that like out of context might not make sense, but to you it sounds like a really dope story.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh yeah, so we were there, we were trying to take the money and we couldn't get out. So what I did was I flipped gravity and I shot myself out the skylight. And you're just like, what? And it's he had that moment. Oh, yeah. So I knew that the floor was gonna collapse, right? So I told everybody to trust me and to jump into the cube, right? I told everybody to jump, and they were like, why? And I was like, trust me, and we all jump into the cube, right?
I loved the moment of like, we definitely have time for me to explain my plan. I'm not going to. Everybody
Correct.
Jump in here.
Yes. Exactly. There's
like that's
all those
so
moments
like
of,
just
like,
trust me, I swear.
Just do this.
Yeah.
There was but everybody had that moment. And I'm trying to think of what Edgin's was. I think Edgin's probably was the faking of the time stop, because I think that was probably like such a big deception check to go like to hold it. And I think it's the time flip, like the gravity flip, the counterspell for Simon. I think the gelatinous cube moment for our tiefling. I feel bad. What is her name?
Which character?
The tiefling. The druid.
Doric.
Yes, Doric. Doric and the potato. You know.
Oh, the potato was so good. It's such a good running gag.
That's but like that's how you like. Oh, how'd you defeat the big bad? A potato.
I threw a potato at him. Yeah,
I threw a potato at him.
The thing that really stood out to me is like they have the running joke about like this is plan A. If plan A fails, plan B. If plan B fails, this is plan A2 or whatever. Like they're like this is plan C. Plan C is just plan A again. No, plan A fail. Plan A has a stink on it or something, whatever they kept saying. But like it was so clear that the people who like wrote, directed, played the game. Cause like the plans that they created were not movie story plans. The plans that they created were D&D in an adventure.
How many times have you heard somebody say, I'm gonna tie a rope to my javelin and throw it? As soon as there was like, oh, can we just like that was verbatim? I was like, I've heard that line.
Yeah,
like somebody, that's a plan. People say
the whole scene with the hither thither staff and putting it on the painting, getting up into the wagon and like breaking it all, that whole scene was like, this is a plan my players would make. Like it is so good, and I love the like the way that they lay items out and the way that they present new story elements and stuff. And there's very little like the expression Chekhov's gun of like if you introduce a gun in the first act, it has to pay off in the third act. I didn't feel like there was anything and now that I've said that, I'm like my brain is like, that was wrong. What you just said was a nonsense thing that doesn't exist. And I'm gonna have to Google it afterwards to make sure that what I said wasn't a nonsense thing. Anxiety's fun, kids. But like there was nothing in this movie that I felt was introduced and didn't pay off. And the like there may have been a thing or two, but they were all things like this is a thing that doesn't pay off, but like that's the joke. Of like here is something that you picked up along the way and you just kept. because like that's a thing D&D players do as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
oh man, I
I mean,
loved it
well,
so
actually,
much.
I do kind of feel like I wonder, like, could that helmet have been used many more times?
Oh,
That would have been
absolutely,
like a. I was like,
100%.
could you just like time stopped that? Could you have just done like no time stop? Like, is it just enchantments or is it magic in general?
It
Like, that was something I was just like,
Yeah. Well, I
But
mean, let me pull up
but
the magic item.
there is actually I think the most D&D moment of the
Mhm.
whole movie. Because my favorite moment, like Zank, whether or not people say he was in it enough or not, or it's
Mhm.
not fair that they're promoting him enough. The bridge, the whole bridge scene of him describing the ancient Gnomish dwarvish sequence of this many squares
Mhm.
forward, then we must go diagonally in this pattern every other one. And I was like, this is a trapper puzzle that is being laid out
Mhm.
in crazy detail,
Mhm.
and then they can't solve it and they just screw it up.
Yeah.
And it's almost as if the hither thither staff was like, oh, you notice that this staff is a thing. And it's almost
Yeah.
like, here was a pity magic item. That thing will get you across. Let's just go. Stop trying to tie things to your javelin. It's not going to
Mhm.
work. Just that staff actually is magic and it'll take you there. And it's like that felt like him talking to the screen, and I was like, they're gonna fail so bad, and then it collapsing behind him it was beautiful. I think it
Yeah.
was a good moment, like in just as far as a movie, as far as a D&D player. I was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, it
Well,
collapses. Yeah,
even things uh like little moments of looking at the scene in the movie and being like, I can see how this goes in at the table of
yeah,
like
yep.
they are at the end of the line on that bridge. They're like, we're going to die here. And the DM being like, Olga, as you're like grabbing stuff out of your bag, you pull out the walking stick you took from the house. Sorcerer, make an arcana check or a history check.
Yeah,
And he
yep.
rolls it and he's like, that's the hither thither staff. You're familiar with that. That's a powerful item. Like it'll allow you to teleport. Like that, just because like any moment in the movie that feels like, well, that's a weird transition there, is so easily explained as like the DM asked for a roll.
Yeah, yeah.
Like yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there was definitely like, I was like, oh, this is they failed at this, and maybe I apply that to other things, but this was
Mhm.
specifically a D&D movie, and I was
Yeah.
like, this is a this check.
I
They're
do that
doing
in
this.
regular movies.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like
exactly.
watching the D&D movie, it just all made sense and it wasn't a
Correct.
stretch at all.
Yeah.
I did pull up the item. The item does have a property that once you use the Helm's property, it can't be used again for 1d4 days. So they
Okay.
couldn't have used
All
it
right.
again. Which like good on you for keeping the continuity of your magic item. I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the like there were just little things here and there, and there were so many like callbacks to earlier scenes, like little things that just like
Oh yeah.
connected, of like the hot air balloon with Hugh Grant's face all over it is in like an earlier scene. You see it getting inflated and stuff like that as the players are walking by, and I can so clearly see a group of players sitting around a table and being like, wait, you described a hot air balloon that was going to be floating over the city during this event. Like we want to do this. And it's like
What's the range? What's the range on that stick?
100%. I did say that. Range on the hither thither staff is you choose a point you can see within 1,500 feet of you.
Yeah, that's what I was like. He's like, I don't know, like half a mile or something like that. He said like a ludicrous like distance, and I was like, oh damn.
That's incredible.
Like that's nuts. And
Yeah.
like sniper precision. But like I think we're probably a little over, and I know we need to let you get to the stuff you got to do. But we would be remiss if we didn't mention the Chonky Boy.
We did promise Davy Jones that we would talk about the Chonky Boy today. And he is
I only had
not
one
here.
issue.
he's not here to like defend the chunky boy like he said he was
Yeah.
going to.
I only had
but
one issue with it, but like if you have more you feel about it, like go for it.
I only have one issue with it. And I think my only issue with it, because it's a big dragon, and like I pulled up the lore on the dragon of like he is from out of the abyss. The lore is he is like in this this Duragar city that they like the Duragars hatch a dragon hatchling, and they like raise it up and like feed it and keep it content so that they can like use its abilities. And then the like twist there, spoilers for Out of the Abyss, if you haven't like played it or read it or whatever, and you don't want to know this, feel free to move on. The twist there is that when the dragon gets too big or too old or too unruly, the Duragar will kill the dragon and hatch a new one, and repeat that cycle. But the hatchling that they had to like replace him, something went wrong, and they weren't able to hatch that dragon, or it died or something. And so they had to keep him, and so he just kept growing, and growing more and more. He was this massive dragon. He was like growing hungrier and hungrier, and like that's part of the lore of that. So my only problem with him, because I love the story, it's so good. My only problem with him is not even the whole like him not speaking thing, because I can totally understand a dragon being like so hungry that, and then sees like people show up, and you're like, that's food, because like that dragon definitely doesn't go hunting. So like the food shows up, I can understand the like, I'm not going to take a break to taunt this, I just want to eat it. What did frustrate me is that he is portrayed in the book as being a like an adult red dragon. He's intelligent. He's used as a quest giver for the players. Like he tries to recruit the players to do something for him. So like he is intelligent and like speaks and does all of this. And I do think that it is a little bit of a disservice to the established character that like he only was there to like cause an immediate threat. Like even in that scene where they are like stuck in the hole in the wall, and his head is stuck in the wall, and they have nowhere to go, and they're like making a plan right in front of him. And like, okay, you're gonna get him angry so that he'll spark, and then we'll blow up this whole thing. And it's like, okay, but like, he's right there. He can hear you and understands what you're saying. Like, he's not an animal. You're not plotting this in front of just an angry rhino. You are plotting this in front of a creature that has outlived the civilization that enslaved it. Like that is old creature.
I can only see like it was yelling, it was roaring, it's focusing on the rocks, getting around. So I can understand you have to explain away why it didn't hear them, but that's a really good point of they were strategizing. Like, you had to stage whisper, because the water was falling. There was a lot of things happening. So they had to speak up. Like, it couldn't have just been a whisper, know. So you're definitely right in that they did plan in front of this creature that could have not done that and just waited for them to die. It probably can hold its breath longer than they can hold their breath. And then it would have just like shoved its head out. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Is that essentially same issue you had with it, or did you have a different one?
I think for me, it was, if you didn't know anything about that, I think it was, if you're like, oh, Thundershot, like they just said, like he says the name, like, oh, it's so-and-so found a new lair. I think, do they mention dragons being intelligent? I feel like they did at some point mention dragons being.
I don't remember.
damn it, now it's just killing me.
I have to
'Cause
rewatch
I'm
the
almost
movie.
now I'm almost I feel like one of them said something about like how dangerous dragons are or something
Well,
like that. You know what I mean?
the fight, right? The fight with all the barbarians, the people that they speak with dead with, like that's where that like black dragon was
Yeah.
attacking.
I
So it's
don't know if it was a
probably in there
conversation.
if there was one.
Yeah, I was gonna say like now I'm trying to think of like it was just my DM brain or like did I have a conversation with somebody? But I feel like somewhere in the movie they said something to the effect of that dragons are smart or just like
Hmm.
they're dangerous in a sense where it's not just like oh they're big and chompy,
Right.
like they're dangerous. And then later on to just have a dragon that's dangerous
Yeah.
because not because it's smart, just because it is chompy. I was just like
I th-
oh, dinner, and
yeah.
then like, oh wait, you don't want to eat us. It's like, oh yes, I do. And then it's what I mean? Just like
Right.
a line or two to do that, make it another cameo. They could have had like Vin Diesel or something like that. Could have been the Easter egg.
Yeah.
But
Have Matt Mercer voice the dragon because like he does a good dragon voice.
yeah. But
I
something along those lines would have been interesting.
I think the most frustrating thing for me about that element is that, like, for a movie that did such a good job of paying very close attention to their source material of everything else, they
Yeah.
have two dragons represented, and neither of them are represented as, like, actually the powerful, magical creatures that they are. And that is like they're both represented as like horrifying, like terrible, strong creatures. But like
The
there's
black dragon turned the tide of a battle. You know what I
right,
mean? Like,
but
it's a
they're
big
both
deal.
represented as like uh powerful animals essentially.
Yeah.
Which that is my only, and I assume they probably did that because of like Game of Thrones. People are familiar with like a very specific type of dragon, and so they were like,
Yeah.
we want them to be like represented that way. But that is my only complaint with Thundershout. We do have to wrap up. I have two things that I want to just rapid fire with you.
Go.
First, what was your favorite throwaway joke of the movie? Just like a little like moment and then it's gone. And then two, if they were making a next one,
Mhm.
where do you want it to go?
Okay. Favorite throwaway joke, I think is
If you don't have
man.
yours, I know mine.
All right, go for yours. I'll see if I can rattle mine.
My
'Cause
favorite
I had a lot
throwaway
of little
joke from the
moments.
movie was when they're in the Underdark and they're like going in there and the intellect devourers are there, and the paladin is like, be very quiet, don't have any strong thoughts, they are attracted to intelligence, and then they just walk by them and Chris Pine's just like, well, that hurts, and then they move on. Like that was one of my favorite moments in the entire movie. It was so stupid.
Yeah, it was for me. It was a tie between that and the walking, and the rock.
Yes,
like walking
The
over
Rock
the
is
rock.
also very good.
But
I also liked post credit scene the one body that is still awake because they didn't like ask it enough questions. It's just like, does anybody have a question?
Oh, you know what? I know what my favorite thing is.
Mhm.
I don't know if it was known the entire time.
Mhm.
But the Hugh Grant's character, I don't know if he knew the entire time that his wizard friend was a red wizard. Right?
Mm.
I don't know. But there was the scene where he just walks in on her having a conversation and she's like full red wizarded out.
Mhm.
And she has the look of, uh-oh, you're seeing me in my red wizard form. Am I gonna have to kill you? And he is just like, yep, you're probably going to put that hood on. I don't care. Whatever. Like, hey, other people, not me though. Other people are going to care about you being Red Wizard, not me. And it was definitely like, I think he's seeing this for the first time and saying everything he has to say to not die. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't
But
catch that the first time. I interpreted it as
You're interrupting
like
me?
what?
Like she's like, you're interrupting me,
Yeah,
type of thing.
that's how I interpreted it, as like I didn't interpret it as like fear or I've been caught as much as like how dare you intrude on my like private
Yeah.
moment. Like
It
that
was
I
yeah.
interpreted it as the first moment where you see, oh, she doesn't work for him.
It was I took it as because she helped him get the money, she helped
Hmm.
his campaign, but the whole time I think he just thinks that this wizard is backing me. He doesn't because he wouldn't ask. He wouldn't
Mm,
care about all that stuff. He's not full evil, so if he knew that it was a red wizard, he might have like just pieced out much earlier.
hmm.
That's why I think when she's looking at him,
Interesting.
it's part, yo, what are you doing? I'm gonna
Yeah.
kill you. Why do you just barge in here? You don't knock. But also you're seeing I'm a red wizard for the first time. She's like seeing how he's gonna react, and he's like, "Yep, you're gonna want to do that." And he just doesn't miss a beat. That's why I think it's gonna be like people think he would know, and I was like, I don't think he knew. I think he
Mm,
was also like, yeah, you're probably going to put that on though, and he's just like, I don't care. I'm getting mine. You're getting yours. Or, yeah, whatever. Let's
yeah.
not talk about this. And then she goes back on. But I
Yeah.
think there was a
I need to
that
rewatch it
was a
because
good.
that's very interesting. Um, if they were going if they're gonna make a second one, which on the record, I hope they do.
Yeah.
I hope they continue making these movies. Like I would love to see there's two ways they could go forward. They could just keep making like keep the same group of adventurers move forward, keep making like new adventures in the world. Or they could like have new characters and it's always a new group of adventurers off doing something. I do think it would be very funny if they like make them new characters but it's the same cast. I think
Oh
that's
God.
very funny where it's
I,
just different like it's a
I don't
very
think they'll do
inside
that.
joke. They won't do it, but I
Yeah,
think it would
I
be
don't think they'll
very
do it
funny.
because they're really trying to establish like a Lord of the Rings, like this is a universe.
Mhm.
There's it's very obvious that they were like Dungeons and Dragons blank.
Right.
They weren't going, this is this wasn't Honor Among Thieves, a Dungeons and Dragons movie. This was
Yeah.
Dungeons and Dragons Honor Amongst Thieves.
This is
And they're
Avengers Age of Ultron.
correct.
Yeah.
So they're going to do more than one. And because they've set this up and you got like people that play D&D know that any D&D game can be it doesn't matter if it's a heist movie, it can feel like multiple things.
Mhm.
I can see them going the route of we're going to throw whatever at the wall and see what sticks,
Mhm.
and then from that point forward go make more in that line, right?
Mhm.
So Honor Among Thieves 2, if they want to, I don't know if they'll do a 2 for this. The immediate things I can see them doing are one, everybody's gonna be clamoring for more Zank. Everybody's gonna be
Mhm.
clamoring for more of this paladin, and he is clearly a higher level than them.
Mhm.
So it's one of the easier
Well, and they
ways
did
to
sort
do
of
a
set it up with the post credit scene of like him finding Hugh Grant's character in the woods. Of so like they could very easily
oh, I'm
have
talking about a prequel.
no, I know, but like I'm
Oh,
saying like they could even
oh,
incorporate both of them going forward as well. Um
oh,
like
oh, okay.
um they're
Yeah,
gonna
but I see a
it's set
prequel.
up for more movies.
I don't see Hugh Grant character doing anything else because he's just in jail, right? Like,
He is, yes.
yeah, so that's why I'm
Yeah.
like, I think like his is whatever. Everybody else, I don't know what they would do. Like they can, yes, but I think that a prequel would be the easiest to
Mhm.
show Zank at a lower level and like me like being cool but not as
Like
dope. Like they're getting
how
to
is he
that point.
connected to the Wizards of Thay?
Correct.
Like all of that
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
It's probably going to be more. They can just cut to like it'll be a montage of him young, but then going to like actor still aged young. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like and because what he stopped aging, so he aged to a certain point and stopped. So
Hmm.
they just have him go, oh, you're actually early 20s or late 20s here.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And just doing a prequel with how he got the helmet. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like that thing. And then doing very blatantly themed movies, a
Mm.
horror movie, a comedy, another adventure,
Dungeons
you
and
know what I mean?
Dragons: The Road to Ravenloft,
You
Dungeons
know,
and Dragons, The Wild Beyond the Witchlight. Like
yeah,
you
yeah,
can
like full
essentially
blown.
you've got all essentially you have movie scripts
That's what
for
I'm saying.
all of these.
They have all the settings.
Yeah.
They just have somebody like kind of like theme it in that sense, um, or make up a new one. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like they did a heist movie.
Hmm.
So it was like they could make a scary one, and they have plenty of scary things to go off of,
Yeah.
and either like hint at the other ones with Easter eggs. They don't have to do Avengers style. Everything comes together, but if we have enough movies where it's like eventually have 5 or 6 movies, and then we can get a dream team of like, Olga and
Mm-hmm.
the clown mime bard from the second movie, and the gnome I don't know, the gnome ranger
Mm-hmm.
that rides on a dog from the fourth movie. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? They could just take
Yeah.
somebody from all of them and then make that cool thing. They got to fight freaking Vecna or something like
Yeah.
that. You know what I mean? Like,
Uh,
don't use Vecna until you've got a
yeah.
bunch.
Um,
That's all I'm saying.
Oh, if they did like a bunch of different movies that were all like interconnected universe, so they're all different, like different sections of the
Yeah.
Forgotten Realms or
Yeah.
whatever. It's always a different group of adventurers, and then like they make a movie that is like Vecna ascending, and it's like all of those groups coming together, Avengers Endgame style, to like try and take him out. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Um,
I think that would be cool.
we are way over our time. So we do have to wrap up here. I would like, instead of our traditional, like, here are three three things to do, the call to action things. Instead, I would like who are two like characters from D&D lore that you would like to see in a future movie, and who would you cast?
Oh God. Okay.
And if you need me to go first, I can go first. And we'll just go back and forth.
First, yeah.
My first one is I would want to see Strahd, played by Mads Mikkelsen.
Okay. Yes. Okay. All right.
Who you got?
This. I'm avoiding the obvious Danny DeVito as a satyr in anything. I'm avoiding that.
Perfect.
I don't want to say that.
Uh-huh.
But I think I would go with. What's the character's name? No, not the character. I want the actor. I would like Mert.
See,
I would like Mert.
Mert is my second one as well. So I'm very interested to see what you say for Mert, because I have a casting that I'm very excited about.
I think I would cast. Say yours, and it won't influence me. It won't influence me. Say yours, because
mine.
I'm staring at his face. I'm just trying to.
Oh, you've got the person, or
Jack Black?
Jack Black is my casting as well. Jack Black as Mert, I think, is incredible, and I would love to see,
because he currently has like a big mustache and beard. So I think they would just either leave it like that or dye it. Like, and
I would love to see a movie that is like Mert and his like crew of adventurers doing some like high level adventure shit.
I don't think that.
I Jack Black.
I would see like a almost I think the gag for me would be that he is super duper in like retirement mode type of thing, where he kind of
that works too.
Suck.
Where he's just an NPC.
No, like the party has to escort him, and like the whole thing is like keeping him safe. And he just is lazy and doesn't want to do anything. And it's like, oh, he's frustrating. And then the payoff is like, if he has to, it's like, oh, what? This isn't even that hard. And then you see that he does.
He just does the thing. Oh, yeah.
You could have taken care of yourself the whole time. It's like, well, that's what I'm paying you for.
And they could absolutely bring Mert in, because one, they've already talked about like the Lords of Waterdeep, and they've talked about Edgin was a Harper. Which Mert is like one of the main contacts of the Harper. So like I think Jack Black as Mert would be incredible. Are there any other NPCs that you would really love to see brought to life?
I could be wrong on this one, because I don't know enough about them, but did you ever see like the season finale of season 1 of Critical Role?
Yes.
There is Joe Manganiello guest stars in that as his
Archon
character,
the Cruel.
Archon the Cruel.
Yeah.
And then in a fun twist, like they inputted his character into like D&D lore.
Yes.
I think both for him and it would just be a fun Easter egg to just cast him as Archon the Cruel.
Oh, I 100% agree.
He's strong as hell.
He's
Give him-
he's
you know
a
what I mean?
massive, imposing individual.
Yeah.
He's a good voice actor as well.
Yeah. So
yeah.
he'd have prosthetics. It would be like you'd be losing out on him, but like it would just be like a Rocket Raccoon situation where
Yeah.
like it's Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, it's Bradley
Doesn't matter
Cooper,
if
but
it's
he's a
squirrel,
raccoon.
You know what I mean? But you can get
Yeah.
like him as Archon the Cruel.
You got to bring him in
you-
when you're doing the Vecna story, though, is the thing.
that or do almost like a Thunderbolts situation from
where
Marvel
you're
Comics, where it's like
assembling like the dark
a
team.
bunch of anti-heroes or a bunch
Yeah.
of bad guys to do something that kind of is good, but they're all bad or jerks about it.
Yeah, kind of a Suicide Squad vibe.
Yeah, a Suicide Squad. There we go. That's
Yeah.
that's a better that would
I
he
like
would-
that a lot.
Archon the Cruel is the leader of the Suicide Squads for D&D, like that. Yeah. I'm trying
like
to think
that
of
a
a
lot.
fun tagline. Like Dungeons and Dragons. I'm trying to think of like a group name for something that's cruel. The Cruel Crew, like that. That doesn't vibe at all. That sounds really lame. But yeah,
That's really good.
There's ways to do this, and like like I said, the fact that a Suicide Squad exists, we know that like
Mhm.
that type of anti-hero type movie would work, and him as his character, they would have to. I think people would get mad because they would have to fudge lore a little bit, I
Mhm.
guess, because of timeline shenanigans of where it takes place. But they would use the character, So I think there's a way to do that. But yeah, Mert definitely. I like him. And the more this movie did a great job of being funny and still being like what it was as far as like a heist movie,
Hmm.
that like Avengers, where it's something where you can have a movie that can be more than one thing. It can be action, it can be suspenseful, it can be, I don't know how they would do like a drama, obviously, you know what I mean? Like I
Mhm.
think if they tried to do like a Game of Thronesy or like a Game of Thronesy more serious one, I
Mhm.
think spells and such, people would like it would take away from it because magic is a little more common. It's
Mhm.
things are less hard in this world,
Mhm.
as far as it's not as bleak sometimes.
Mhm.
So I don't know if they could, that would be as easy, not that it's not doable, but like comedies, suspense, the horror, thrillers, like I think they can do all those real easy.
I agree. Awesome.
Yeah. All right. Let's start the crowd, not crowdfunding. What's the petition? Let's start the petition, the fan petition.
Start another one.
Yeah. Start no, specifically to cast Jack Black and Joe Manganiello.
Jack Black Jack Black is my first and only choice for Mert. Like I can't think of another actor who would do it as high a justice. I before we wrap up, it is on my brain, so I need to say it. Next Dungeons and Dragons movie, I want Ben Schwartz to play a gnome. Because he has such a like fun, chaotic energy, and I love him dearly. If you aren't familiar with Ben Schwartz, go watch anything he has ever made. It's all good. Like Ben Schwartz plays Sonic in the Sonic movies, the Sonic movies are masterwork. Like they're incredible. That is it for us today. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great rest of your week. If you haven't seen Honor Among Thieves yet, highly recommend, but let us know what you thought of it. If you haven't joined our Discord yet, join our Discord. We've got tons of like nonsense happening in there. Not tons, but there's nonsense happening in there. And we're always looking for more nonsense. You can also catch us Monday. We will be back here same time, 8 a.m. Eastern. And then Tuesday we will be over on the Greater Restoration channel doing Humblewood. So come watch Junie and I play just really, really professional little adventurers. We're really, really good at what we're doing.
Really good.
We're
Yeah.
really good at it. Have a great weekend, everybody. Make sure you do some nonsense stuff. Send us a message in the Discord to let us know what it was. And we will see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Bye.